back with another Madden 20 trading video, and today we are going to go over the 10 easiest superstars to trade for in Madden 20 franchise. There's been a lot of requests to do trading videos on each and every position, so today we are starting at the quarterback position. If we can't get this video to 2,000 likes, I'll continue to do position by position videos as long as you guys do want to see it. And today we are doing the quarterback position. Now, not everybody on this list is very good caliber quarterbacks, but it ended up being kind of crazy and worked out pretty perfectly because these are the only 10 starting quarterbacks in Madden 20 that you can actually trade for. Everybody else that is a starter, it's just impossible to trade for them. And by that, let me explain what I mean. So let me think of one of the quarterbacks that you can't possibly trade for in Madden 20. Let's go with, I don't know, Carson Wentz is a good one to start with because he's good obviously, but should an 82 overall player Madden 20 be impossible to trade for and this impossible? I don't think so. And what I mean by that is we can throw in our top 3 players and we'll submit this trade through. And as you see, to be able to trade for Carson Wentz, you'd have to have like 3 Zach Martins, 3 Travis Fredericks, and 3 Tyron Smiths. So that's what I mean by that. And every player that's not on this list is exactly pretty much in the same exact scenario. So hopefully guys do find this video helpful. And if you do, make sure to smash that like button. Once again, if we can't get 2,000 likes, I'll continue to do this for each and every position. And let me know in the comment section below what position you do want to see next. And also, if I do for some reason miss a player that should have been on this list, let me know in the comment section below, because I might have missed maybe 1 or 2, but I'm pretty sure these are the only 10 starting quarterbacks you can trade for in Madden 20. Now they'll progressively get better on this list. We'll start off with a couple of okay ones. I mean, like if you need a quarterback, like say maybe one of your quarterbacks get injured in week 3 or week 4 and you need somebody to play for the rest of the season, these aren't bad options, the first 2 or 3, and then the rest are pretty decent. Some of them are young, some of them are a little older, but you'll see there's a big variety on this list, and it's all starting quarterbacks in Madden 20. Now, the first one is easily the worst quarterback on this list, but he's still relatively easy to trade for, rightfully so, and that is Eli Manning. Not only is he old in 72 overall, he's worth a lot of money. So I think the only reason you'd want to trade for him is if you have like no other option at the position. Maybe your starting quarterback gets hurt for the rest of the season and you need somebody, you don't have much to trade away, and you don't want to trade away too much. Eli Manning's a great option to start with. Now, let's see what it will take to bring on Eli Manning. Now, do we do the backup running back thing? They have Alfred Morris that they are interested in, 75 overall. And as you see right there, it's already close. It's like almost 3/4 of the way to being accepted. Let's find one player that's like a low overall that they are interested in. Maybe a Joe Looney, since they need a center. Right tackle, maybe Cameron Fleming. And at the middle linebacker position, maybe Joe Thomas. And let's see, are they interested in any of these guys? And they are interested in Thomas, a 68 overall. Submit that through, and it's declined, but it's getting extremely close, dude. So you probably can throw in now maybe a 66 overall cornerback, Michael Jackson, and then maybe this is a tough one. Maybe we go with a late draft pick, maybe a 7th round draft pick from this year. Submit this through. It was declined again, but I think maybe a 5th, probably just the 5th by itself. This should be accepted. Declined one more time, but now I think we throw in that cornerback, and that was accepted. Eli Manning for a 68 overall, a 5th round draft pick, and a 66 overall cornerback. So basically all you really need for Eli Manning is one player that they have the green interest in, no matter how low their overall is. I think a workaround, I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, I think a workaround that could help you shed the cap space that Eli Manning does bring to your team, literally, if I'm thinking correctly, he's worth 16 mil a year once you trade for him. If you release him into free agency, that free 16 mil worth of cap room, and if you go and sign him at a free agency for a 1-year deal, that should be, I see it's only 2.81 mil, so right there, you shed 14 mil worth of cap room and you keep him on your team. So that's just a little workaround for pretty much any player that is worth way more than what their overall is. Obviously, it's only 1-year deal out of free agency, but I think it's still worth it temporarily. Now, with that said, going into quarterback number 2, another one that's not the greatest, but somebody you could trade for if your starter did get hurt, or maybe he's a really good, valuable backup quarterback for your team. That is going to be a Miami Dolphin, none other than Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick. He is a 75 overall, so he's not that bad in comparison to some of the other quarterbacks out there. Now, Miami Dolphins, they pretty much need like anything. I'm going to try the same exact thing, try to trade some lower overall players that are backups. Now, the left end position, we have Dorrance Armstrong or Kerry Hyder. They want either of these guys. I think this trade right here will be accepted. Let me just try Fleming on his own. And that's already so close to being accepted, dudes. So without even having to trade a player in the green interest, let's see, maybe at the center position we have another one that they might be yellow interest. Joe Looney. I think this trade, we probably also can get a couple of draft picks, or maybe a late round draft pick out of this deal as well. Maybe a 6th round draft pick in this deal. And that was accepted. So freaking easy, dudes. So bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Once again, I know he's not great, but in case you do need a starter, if your regular starter is injured, all it takes, I mean, pretty much all it would take is maybe a yellow interest player and maybe a 6th or 7th round draft pick to bring in Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, player number 3 here, this is where we take a huge stride in terms of talent from Eli Manning and Ryan Fitzpatrick up a little bit. Now, going to the Detroit Lions, and that is going to be none other than Mr. Matthew Stafford. The same thing as Eli Manning, he's worth a ton of cap, but once again, if you just wanted him temporarily, you can just cut him off your team and re-sign him out of free agency. Probably worth like 5 or 6 mil, but still like 10 mil that you can shed in terms of cap if you do want to bring in Matthew Stafford. Now, what do they want? They need some outside linebackers. I'm not going to trade away Leighton Vander Esch or Sean Lee. Maybe they want this 69 overall player. They no longer have a middle linebacker. They also need a free safety, maybe Darian Thompson in this deal. They do want this 69 overall right outside linebacker. Submit this through, and that's a little bit more than halfway to being accepted already. Now, the left guard position, do we have any backups here? Well, we do have Connor Williams and Xavier Suafilo. And they want both of these guys, so we submit this through, and it's already almost accepted. And if we add in a relatively low draft pick, maybe a 4th from next year, and that was declined, so that's a little upsetting. But maybe a 3rd round draft pick from next year should be enough. And with this, Matthew Stafford is coming over in a trade for a 69 overall right outside linebacker, a 68 backup left guard, and a 3rd round draft pick from next year. Now, moving along, we're going to be going to a pretty young quarterback, and that's going to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mitchell Trubisky. 75 overall, but still he's extremely young, can develop into the 80 overalls. And he's one of the few younger quarterbacks that are on today's list. And what do the Bears need in return? Now, maybe we could submit one of these quarterbacks that we already traded for. They kind of want Ryan Fitzpatrick, so I mean, why not chunk him in the deal? And that, I mean, he is listed as 5 stars, and it's one of the few quarterbacks that you can actually get that are valued at 5 stars. But it's still going to be able to be accepted eventually. Now, defensive tackle, we have a couple guys we could trade away. They want both of them. We'll use the guy that's a little bit more expensive. Submit this through. Now, that's about halfway. I'm not sure if Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be able to be used in this deal. We'll probably need somebody a little bit better than him. Now, the wide receiver position, Michael Gallup or Tavon Austin. Maybe they want Tavon Austin by chance. Of course they don't. That would make things way too easy for me. So we'll throw in Michael Gallup. Submit this trade through. And it's extremely close to being accepted. We need one more player that they would potentially want. Right end, we have a ton of right ends. Taco Charlton, Randy Gregory, Robert Quinn. We'll throw in Robert Quinn since he's a little bit older and a little bit more expensive. In this trade, they actually don't want Robert Quinn. That's weird. Tyrone Crawford, he's a little bit more expensive and a little bit older. Don't want him either. Then why the heck is right in one of your positions of needs? Taco Charlton by chance? I mean, what the heck? Randy Gregory, maybe? That's just weird. Why the heck is right in one of their positions of needs, dude? So we'll just throw in a draft pick instead. Maybe a 3rd will be enough to get in Mitchell Trubisky. It's declined, so maybe a 2nd. But still, keep in mind, this is a young quarterback. Quarterback that's still a decent overall when developing to like an 80 overall. And with that, I hate everything, to be completely honest. But a 1st from next year, maybe this will be enough to be accepted. Oh, I hate everything. I really do hate everything. We'll throw in a 1st round draft pick. I know that's a lot, but still, it's one of the 10 starting quarterbacks that you can trade for in Madden 20. Now, would I recommend you trading for Mitchell Trubisky when you have some of these other options? No, but still at the same time, he is one of the 10 quarterbacks that you can trade for in Madden 20. Now, moving along next to another relatively young quarterback that you can trade for. He's a little bit harder than some of the other quarterbacks on this list, but he's still one of the 10 quarterbacks that you can trade for, and that is none other than Mr. Jameis Winston, same thing, dude. He's worth 20 mil a year, but we shall still try and make this deal be accepted. So maybe we can throw in a Matthew Stafford and they might want him. They sort of want Matthew Stafford. How close would this be? It's in the red because they do value Jameis Winston at 5 stars. It's crazy because you can trade for Jameis Winston, but no matter what you add into a deal, you cannot trade for Marcus Mariota. So I went and started a brand new franchise, so things would just be a little bit easier for me. So going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it also turned off cap room, so it didn't have to be a problem for today's video. So Jameis Winston, I mean, once again, it's probably going to take a little bit more than what you'd want, but in case you're a Buccaneers fan, I wouldn't recommend actually trading for Jameis Winston, but still, I'm going to take quarterbacks that you can trade for. Now, let's see, they do want a left tackle. I'm not going to trade away Taylor Lewan. Now, strong safety, we do have Kenny Vaccaro that we could potentially trade away. They are interested in him. Now, the cornerback position, we have a couple options. We have Logan Ryan, he's worth 10 mil, and Malcolm Butler, who's worth 11 mil, so we will submit him. And also, let's try maybe a second-round draft pick in this deal. I know it's a lot, but once again, it's a decently young quarterback in Jameis Winston. That trade was declined, so it is going to take first-round draft pick. I know this is a lot, but still at the same time, for today's video, submit this through. Jameis Winston is coming over. Weird trade. Now we have Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota on the same team. So it does take a lot, but still a young quarterback that you can get in Madden 20. Now moving along this time around, for this trade to be accepted, you'll have to turn off, obviously, pre-existing injuries. But if we do go to the Washington Redskins, we are going to try and get Mr. Alex Smith. 77 rated. He's worth a lot as well, but it's pretty much that's going to be the trend with all quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks in this game are worth a lot in terms of cap. Now moving on to the left, or do we use Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota in the deal just for video's sake? See how close this is to being accepted. It is already close to being accepted. Now, once again, that's probably for any 5-star player. So we'll try to find one 5-star player that the Redskins are interested in. Rodgers Saffold III. They do want him. Also, at the right outside linebacker position, Kamali Correa. They don't want him, unfortunately. At the free safety position, I'm not going to trade away Kevin Byard. So, middle linebacker, we have Rashaan Evans, Jayon Brown. Maybe Wesley Woodyard because he's a lot older. He's 33 years old. We submit this through. It was already accepted. So 2 players that are pretty decent, but pretty much it's just 2 players in terms of green interest. You can bring in Alex Smith to your roster. Now, moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals and Mr. Andy Dalton. Once again, with some of the other options you have, I wouldn't recommend it, but still, maybe you're a Bengals fan or just need a quarterback that's relatively easy to get just to start for you immediately. Andy Dalton could be your man. Now, the defensive tackle position, we have Daquan Jones. Not many options here. Maybe they want Austin Johnson, and they do. Submit this through. It's, this is going to be a little bit tougher than what I thought, but still a possible trade. Now, at the left guard position, we just traded away Rodgers Saffold, didn't we? Now, maybe right outside linebacker again, Kamali Correa. They don't want him. They do want Jayon Brown, so that could be solid. And if we do add in a second-round draft pick into this deal, it was declined, unfortunately. So if we can go and get one more player that the Bengals do want. Do they want Jameis Winston by chance? They don't. How about Marcus Mariota? They do want him. Submit this through. It was accepted. Once again, just use it for video purposes. Marcus Mariota didn't have to be using this deal. If we could have just found another green interest player or another first-round draft pick, you can bring in Andy Dalton to your squad. Now, this is where things get a lot better. These last 3 quarterbacks, I would highly recommend above the first 7. Now, moving on to the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to go and attempt to get Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, what's it going to take to bring in this man at the center position? Ben Jones. We can submit this through, and it's already about halfway to being accepted. Now, they need a left outside linebacker. Cameron Wake, I mean, he's 37 years old, or DeAndre Walker. They want the 30, well, just for video's sake to make it a little better, 68 overall. Submit this through. It's so close to already being accepted. So Jimmy G is easier to get than Andy Dalton, Alex Smith, and Jameis Winston, and Mitchell Trubisky. So I would probably highly recommend Jimmy G than the other guys. So all we need really is one more player. So maybe a running back. Oh, they want Keem Hunt by chance? Probably not. I don't even think it went up at all. But if we do throw in a half decent draft pick, maybe a 4th round draft pick will be enough to have this trade be accepted. All we have is a 5th. Maybe this is enough. And it was see, a 4th would have been enough. That's annoying. So how about a 3rd from next year? Let's welcome Jimmy G to the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is where we take a huge stride. Jimmy G is a pretty good improvement. Now, this is where things get extremely crazy. The Green Bay Packers and Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Still feel like he was completely disrespected at being rated only a 90 overall quarterback. I feel like he'll be way back up there, maybe up to like a 95 overall by the end of the year, since I do update the rosters as the year goes along. But at the beginning of Madden 20, Aaron Rodgers is a great option to trade for at the quarterback position. Now, I mean, it's going to take a little bit more than some of the other players, but it's worth it because it's freaking Aaron Rodgers. We'll still try to make it as crazy as possible. They need a wide receiver. They want both of these guys, so we'll throw in Tajay Sharp since he is a lower overall. They also need a right guard. Who do we have here we can trade away? Ooh, Nate Davis. I highly doubt they'd want him. Now, right in, I know we have Jarrell Casey, and that's the only option we have there. Maybe they want Daquan Jones by chance. Unfortunately, they don't. The problem is I just want to make sure we have enough players to trade away. Now, maybe they want a 63 overall middle linebacker. Of course they don't. At free safety, maybe they want Amani Hooker by chance. Of course, they don't want him either. So do we have anybody that they'd want? Maybe Dion Lewis by chance. It's yellow interest there. Submit this through. It's about halfway to going through. If we submit maybe a Corey Davis, maybe a Tywan Taylor by chance, submit that through. Well, it's getting a little bit closer, dudes. Now, maybe if we use that 2nd round draft pick, this trade would be accepted. And it's getting on up there, dudes, but the problem is we don't have many players they would want. So this right here should finally do it. Add in Corey Davis, and boom, finally Aaron Rodgers. So essentially, to bring in Aaron Rodgers to your team, it's going to take a 1st round draft pick and 2 players that do value at 5-star. But it's freaking Aaron Rodgers, so I think it's worth it. So with that, dudes, finally coming down to the final quarterback in this top 10. It's the highest rated quarterback in this list, obviously, and that's going to be a New Orleans Saint, none other than Mr. Drew Brees. And the good thing about him, he's only worth $1 million a year towards the cap. What that wasn't going to take to bring in the man. And also, I went through and signed some players out of free agency just to make it a little bit easier to do these final few trades. Now, they also need a wide receiver. We did sign Des Bryant out of free agency, but for the video, I'll throw in Adam Humphries and Tywan Taylor, and they only have yellow interest, so maybe they do have green interest on Des Bryant, and they do. Also, they need a left outside linebacker, and we have Cameron Wake, and they don't want him, obviously, because he's a freaking 37-year-old. Now, at the right end position, what do we have we can trade away? Did we sign anybody else? No, Jarrell Casey. At left end, we do have William Hayes and Muhammad Wilkerson. They don't want either of those guys. That's the one thing about the Saints. They're very picky in what players they are interested in. Eric Berry, by chance, 86 overall. They do want him. Submit this through. And just like that, it was accepted. So we probably could have got him for a lot less. But as you see, Drew Brees, the highest rated player on this top 10, and also is one of the easiest quarterbacks to add to your roster. But guys, that does it for the 10 easiest quarterbacks to trade for in a Madden 20. Hopefully you guys did enjoy and did find it helpful. Let me know what position you want me to do a video on next. Subscribe if you are new. Turn on the notification bell if you haven't. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. God bless and peace.